Hola amiguitos, welcome to another episode of Viva Art, where learning Spanish is so much fun. On today's episode, we're going to be making a Tic Tac Toe board, the game. This is one of my favorite games. We're going to have so much fun making this Tic Tac Toe board. But at the same time, while we are making the board, we're going to be learning some Spanish letters, which are the vowels. We're going to be learning the vowels in Spanish. All you have to do is repeat after me. A. A de avión. E. E de elefante. I. I de imán. O. O de oso. U. U de uno. To create this fun game, we're going to need the following materials. We're going to need blue paint, some white paint, and some red paint. We also going to need 2 brushes, a thick brush and a very thin brush, a cup with water. We are going to make the tic-tac-toe game with stones. So you can get the stones from your backyard, any shape, maybe medium size, but you can get any shape you want, any color you want. You're going to need 10 of this, remember? 10 stones. Okay, for the board of the game, you're gonna need, I'm using a foam board, but you can use maybe cardboard, like the base of a box that you have. It has to be a sturdy material because this is gonna be the board for your game, so it has to be very strong to support the stones. You also gonna need a pencil because you're gonna trace the lines for the game, and a Sharpie that you're gonna use to trace it to make it darker. And of course, you're gonna need also the paper towels. And now we're ready to start. Okay, the first thing that we're gonna do is to paint the rocks, the stones. I'm gonna start with the red ones because red is my favorite color. Now I'm using red, blue, and white. You can use any color you want. Remember, this is gonna be your game. Maybe you can use your favorite colors. My favorite color is red. And then I can always come back when the paint is a little is dry. But in the meantime, we're gonna start doing the other set of stones, and we're gonna paint them in blue. And we're gonna do exactly the same thing we were doing it with the red paint. Now we're ready to wait maybe a few more minutes for this side of the rocks to be completely dry, so then we can flip her over and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so now we flip the rocks and we're ready to do the same thing. We're gonna paint them now on the other side. And we're gonna be doing the same thing. I'm gonna start with the red one. And I'm gonna go all over. Okay, so now I'm gonna be doing the same thing with the blue paint. Okay, now we need to wait a couple of minutes, maybe between 3 to 5 minutes, to make sure that the rocks are completely dried before we start tracing the design on top of the rock. Okay, so now that the rocks, the stones, all the paint on it is completely dried off, we are ready to trace the O's and the X's on the stones. What I'm going to do is the red one is gonna be my X's. So in order for me to start, what I'm going to do is I'm gonna trace the borders of the X's with the black Sharpie. That will make it easier for me when I start painting the inside in white. So carefully you trace the X using the Sharpie. It's gonna look something like this. Okay, and you do the same with the other ones. All the red ones are going to have the X. We are done with the X's on the red stones. Now we're gonna proceed to do the O's, and we're gonna do the same thing. We're gonna trace the borders with the Sharpie. You'll see that tracing the borders with the Sharpie will make much easier to paint the inside of the O or the X's in white. And there you go. Now that we have those borders already made, we're ready to paint the white part, which is the inside of the X's and the O's. So now we're ready to paint the inside of the X's with white. For that, I'm using the very thin brush. So carefully. We're going to follow the shape. You can see the white part is right inside the black border that we just traced. We do the same with the other ones. So now we're ready to start with the O's, and we're gonna do the same thing. Just the inside of the letter is the part that we're gonna paint in white. So now we're gonna move over the rocks so we can let the paint dry. We're gonna move over also the paint, the water, and we're gonna bring the board in front of us. So what we're gonna do is with pencil, we're gonna trace the squares for the board, okay? So remember, you're gonna have 1, 2, 3 squares, first row, 3 squares, second row, 3 squares on the bottom row. So it's gonna be a total of 9 squares, okay? So you have to divide your board equally so all the squares are gonna have the same size. I cannot tell you what size is gonna be your squares because it all depends on how big is your board. But just divide it in thirds, okay? So you draw the columns first, you trace it just the way I did with my board. Now that you trace it with pencil first, very important, so if you make any mistakes, you can erase it. Now you can go ahead and trace it again, now with the Sharpie. And again, you're gonna use your ruler, so you will make straight lines. And this is how you're gonna have your board. And there you go. We are completely done with our Tic Tac Toe board. And I cannot wait to start playing. I'm actually gonna be playing this game with my family. Have fun, enjoy the game, and see you next time. Adios.